Okay, I'm gonna try to go go over the history of the car repair for the a Vortex 4200 engine, inline six. Um, for people in the know, that's also called the Ameribera. Um, once it's turbocharged, because straight six or inline six engines very harmonically balanced. Um, But when I started driving it, I had no idea. I knew I liked the engine. I didn't know why, but, the it's on the GMT, platform. I started out I was a bicyclist. Greetings to anybody joining in. Feel free to ask any kind of, comments or questions about any other topic if you want, but, I'm very flexible as far as my channel content. But in terms of car repair, I started out with a bicycle um, as my main transportation. My dad really liked cars, so we always had a lot of cars. But he'd buy used cars, he'd get new cars. Um, he never taught me any kind of car maintenance at all. Um, I destroyed a Subaru turbo engine once. It ran out of oil, and I didn't know how to check the oil. I mean, I knew how to check it. I just never bothered. I was a nerd, and that was for commuting for school. Um, I have all sorts of weird car stories. With my dad had a limousine, caddy limousine that we used for road trips. I drove a Fiat Spider convertible, for some dates and just this, I know, teenage car. We had a, Wagoneer that my dad modified the exhaust, and the fumes were making me pass out on the way to work. He modified it for, boat boat landings, stuff like that. So just weird, like, little weird, car experiences, but as far as, like, practical knowledge of cars, I never learned repair because living in the city, you don't have any, like, DIY, capabilities because all the zoning and permits and everything, like, you can there's repair shops everywhere. See, I just never learned. We didn't have any tools at all really growing up. Anyway, um, so, um, so I finally, basically we kept getting the car worked on. I started driving it. Um, um, so I basically inherited the car and I use it to transport organic fruit for my job. It could hold a lot. The Vortex 4200 engine. It's in a heavy frame. It's actually a truck frame. So there's a number of different models that the truck frame holds. Trailblazer or Isuzu or Envoy. So yeah, I so we had to constantly get the brakes repaired, and at one point, the local car shop was like, "Are you riding your brakes?" And I didn't know what that meant. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And because they didn't know that I hauled fruit as my job, you know, I would just load it up with fruit. I don't know how many pounds you figure. Guessing I could try to estimate the weight. I never even tried to estimate it now that I think about it. I'm thinking they had to be like, I don't know, 15 pounds of fruit or something. And there were just like dozens and dozens of boxes. So I don't know if it was just 500 pounds. Seemed like a lot. But anyway, yeah. So basically, yeah, we got tons of brake jobs. And then I'm looking over the repairs. The the engine has a variable valve timing, which I didn't even know what that was when I first started out, but I saw, the solenoid had to get fixed, and, those are standard repairs for this model of car, keeping it going. Just like driving on gravel roads, we had, just the standard repairs. We were getting, bearings replaced and, um, what do you call it? The ball joints replaced, and, um so it's pretty standard stuff. We get the oil change every 3,000 miles, but we just have use standard oil, conventional, and it was going along like that, and then, we had my one of my relatives had an accident, pretty not, like, super not nothing real serious, it was, like, just, like, a driveway accident, but I had to get the U-joint replaced and the drive what do you call it? The drive, whatever that drive shaft, drive U-joint shaft or whatever it is. And then, of course, all the grill work had to be, the body they had to do all the body work on the grill and everything, make it look fancy again. And, so that was before I started really driving it. So I'm driving it and, um, but then what happens, the air conditioning broke and I didn't realize, like, I cannot nobody could fix the air conditioning. So the first day, they replaced the fan, the clutch fan or whatever it's called for the air conditioning. That's really expensive repair. And then the local garage replaced it. The air conditioning still didn't work. And then the dealer was like, "No, no, you have to use OEM, whatever." And they did the same job and they replaced it. Still didn't work. So then I got really frustrated. So I started to look into stuff on my own because I'm like, well, I can't keep my delivery fruit job anymore if I don't have an air conditioner running, working. And that wasn't the only reason I gave notice for that job, but that was definitely one of the main reasons. So, um, okay, so then basically everything okay, it was going pretty well, but yeah, like the one of the things like the dust shields, I'm looking over the repairs and the local garage, they replaced the rear dust shields, and it turns out to replace the dust shields on this vehicle, you have to remove the whole rear axle, and that's like a serious, you know, job because to remove the rear axle, you have to like take apart the rear differential. I'm looking at this, I'm like, whoa. So the local garage definitely put a lot of work into keeping the car going, and then they make a remark like, yeah, we're keeping your car going, but you got rust. There's rust on the, body of the car, so it's gonna be a problem, And I'm thinking, "Wait a second, like, we're spending all this money on repairs, and all of a sudden they're telling me rust? Rust is gonna destroy the car," and I just could not accept it. And at first, I didn't really know what to do. I'm trying to treat the rust, and I tried the conventional, like, you bring it to the shop and they do the rust prevention treatment, but that wasn't gonna hack it, I had to keep researching it. So then I learned about phosphoric acid, and I really did a lot of phosphoric acid, treatment on the car as much as possible, and the problem with phosphoric acid, it just eats up the concrete in the garage, and so then I'm trying to work, outside on other roads and getting under the car, and so then, I have to get a jack and whatever, starting to get tools. Finally, I started to buy tools to work on the car because 'cause they're basically like, well, the local the local garage, the local mechanics were like, we're not gonna work on your car anymore, because of the rust was a safety hazard. I found a local, I found a welder in a nearby a big city, and so he welded a plate on the main, rust, like, hole. There was a hole in the frame, and it's a truck frame, so it's a box frames, so it's not gonna break that easily, but, basically, like, that it was so he patched up that hole, and that was their main concern, but then, at this point, I'm like, "Okay, I really wanna try to keep the car g like, the car going," you know? So then I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna be preventative." So I got the transmission, flushed, but it turns out I got it flushed at the dealer, but the tech I didn't know this, but the dealer techs, like, the people who do the oil changes, they're, like, the lowest paid, they're just like the grease monkeys at the dealers, they don't really know what they're doing, and it turns out they way overfilled the transmission. So I'm like, "Oh, great," you know, I like, the transmission was, making these terrible noises, and I realized, it was way overfilled, and so it was, like, bubbling over and causing the, like, air to be in the transmission because it caused it's, like, overheating and causing air bubbles and stuff, and so I brought it to another place, like a place that does they do oil changes, but they also do transmission, whatever, flushes, and they confirmed to me, it was way overfilled, and but so they put in the correct amount of transmission fluid. Unfortunately, the transmission didn't last. It conked out after that. I'm like, well, at that point, the amount of miles on the transmission were about, how long it's supposed to last, which was like 275,000, which is a lot of miles. And I'm like, okay, fine. The engine's still good. And at this point, I realized this is a really good engine, the Vortex 4200. And I knew enough now where I learned it's harmonically balanced, meaning, I don't know, I mean, I could try and go into all the details, but you basically have like three different forces acting on the engine, the different angles and the up, down, and whatever. I mean, it's when you have an inline six with six cylinders, you have all those three forces in balance, which is pretty, pretty awesome, and it means that the they have the dealer has a computer control which limits the RPMs that can be used on the engine so you don't just like burn out your engine and so you don't drive too fast. But the nice thing about the inline six is that it has really good torque. So the engine won all these awards. The car won, like, I don't know, top engine award or whatever, motor of the year award, something like that. Um, because of the high level of torque at the low RPMs, and so it's good for towing and stuff. That's why my dad got it for towing boats, and um, yeah. So I really enjoyed the engine for just how it felt. Like it's like, I don't know, like the natural resonance. I'm into natural resonance. That's what my channel's about. So I'm like, well, this is my dad's last vehicle, and it's a really cool harmonically balanced engine with natural resonance. So it sounds really nice. It feels good as far as car engines go. I mean, like I said, I came from a bicycle background, so I used to ride bicycle 10 miles a day. For 10 years, I rode bicycle 10 miles a day, so I weighed like 50 pounds less, and I was really aerobically fit. um, and I had a great time. I loved riding bicycle, and I didn't know my bicycle had a internal gear or hub gear. It did not have a external derailleur. And because I just did not like mechanical things, I like biology. So, but I started to wonder, I'm like, I've I got the bicycle used, and it's a British 3 speed, and after 10 years of riding it all year round in extreme cold with snow and ice and salt and everything, and I finally, after I was done, I rode for 250 miles, basically nonstop. I mean, over a couple days at what I called a bike about. When I left the city, and I was in really good shape. I mean, um, I even had like like female interest in me because I was like, apparently, I don't know. I mean, but anyway, yeah. So, but it turns out the transmission of a car is actually based. It's derived from the internal hub of the bicycle, and there's videos about this on YouTube. It's pretty fascinating, actually. Um, and that's a British design. It's to have that internal hub. If you think about it, like the British Empire, I mean, they relied on these bicycles, the postal service and these back roads in like 60 countries around the world. I mean, it's kind of weird. I mean, it's like the bicycle's by far the most efficient machine for transportation. I mean, it's like, but so it's kind of funny because like I literally spent probably like $20 on that bicycle, and I rode it for 10 mile. I mean, I couldn't ride a far distance, but it kept me really healthy, and I literally spent no money. So I was basically carbon negative because I was dumpster diving for food. That's what I did for 10 years. And that enabled me to have a lot of free time so I could read one scholarly book a day. And I wrote about that in my 2012 free book. It has all my bibliography of all the books I was reading and all the footnotes and stuff. So I kept notes. I'd post it online, my research, and at any rate, so when I switched to driving a car, it's like really funny because you spend so much money on repairs and gasoline, and you get fat from you know lack of exercise. And anyway, but so it's a totally different lifestyle, and of course, there's so much pollution from the fumes and everything. But yeah, so the yeah, the reason I'm posting this video now is I'm having I got a major repair done. They said they did the repair. I'm picking the car up tomorrow because I have to do an alignment. Where the work I've been doing recently is they're actually covering the repair costs, which is pretty awesome. Um, and so yeah, so okay, so to get back to all the parts that I did end up getting repaired, I decided to get the new suspension for the vehicle. And it's funny because I was watching at this point I was watching a lot of YouTube repair channels for this vehicle, and one of them was called the Failblazer. This guy in the South, really really nice guy, and I even bought his T-shirt. It said like the Failblazer, and um, because I thought it was really ironic because people were trying to like I started to get suspicious. Like we can't like when people didn't want me to drive the car. I'm like maybe they just want the engine, because people are starting to search out this Vortex 4200 engine, from whatever you call it, salvage yards to put a turbo in it, whatever. And so, okay, so the suspension parts I got what he recommended, and apparently they're cheap. They were cheap parts, but the parts they've held up fine, so they're not like I wasn't like I just bought a rack and pinion, and the rack and pinion I researched it, and I found okay, it turns out that like Alibaba, China, the Alibaba website for China, for businesses to buy from China, they have this rack and pinion for like $60. And so if you read all the reviews on Amazon, what businesses do is they just buy it from Alibaba for $60 and they slap their own label on it and they sell it on Amazon for like $200. And then people get it installed in their car because they're like, oh, it's a $200 rack and pinion, it must be pretty good just based on the price. And then it fails in a month or, you know, I mean, it's really tragic when you think about it. And then some people are like, they look at it like, why does it fail? Well, it's got bad welding, bad seals. They don't. I mean, um, but people don't realize like, well, that's how business is set up in the U.S. right now. It's like, pretty much everything will say, it's designed in the U.S. and then you can find the same exact. item directly from China. It just doesn't have a label on it, so it's like literally, it's all like you could just buy it without the label straight from China and for half the price. Which is what I actually do because I'm like, what's the point of somebody just reselling it with their label on it? So what I did was I found the rack and pinion. It was made in China, but it goes through U.S. Quality control, and they replaced the rack. Apparently, they replaced the rack with hardened steel, and they said because if you don't use hardened steel, it rusts out too fast or wears out too fast. And they put their own seals in it, and they put their own boots on it and stuff. So they kind of like they take they said if they have any quality problems with the Chinese part, then they contact the factory in China and have them change it, redesign it. And so, and then I got it on Rock Auto, so it was like half the price of what you'd pay through the auto parts store. So the rack companion got a lot of good reviews for people. They say it. So I'm pretty happy. I felt like I researched it, and so then I got the transmission remanufactured. And when I got it remanufactured, it had a 1 year warranty, and sure enough, after about like 1 year, it started to have problems. And so then I researched it more and I realized, okay, well, they probably didn't like clear out the cooler um, when they put in the new transmission. And what happens is this if you have transmission damage, it gets into the cooler and then it goes back into the remanufactured transmission. And then so then what I did was I installed an external magnet, and you can have those for the power steering also, but I think for the transmission, like as soon as I installed the external magnet, and of course I put in new transmission fluid, and I was so um, I didn't want to deal with the filter at all because it's a big pain to like put in the new filter. There's a seal in there. It can get stuck in there. It's hard to like maneuver it right. It's just, and also that filter itself doesn't really do a lot of filtering, so you don't really have to change that filter. But you do have to if you when you put in the external magnet, that really fixes the problem because the reason the transmission goes bad is because of the solenoids, because the solenoids they work by magnets, and as soon as you start losing metal in the transmission, so the little metal bits start messing up your solenoids because they stick to the magnets of the solenoids. And so that's what happens if you get a remanufactured transmission. They don't really clear out the cooler, is you still have little metal bits in there, and then they mess up the new solenoids in your new, um, anyway. So as soon as I put in that external magnet, the other problem is that there's these Chinese ripoff external magnets, and they're not as good as the original design. So I searched it out, and there was only one spot on eBay that sold the original patented design out of Australia. It's called Magnifine, and it has a magnet on both sides of the filter, so it catches like twice as much metal, and it's a stronger um, like the way it's put together. It has a bypass valve, and anyway, so as soon as installed, it took me. I had to like custom design the connectors for the transmission hose out of the cooler, and um, it took me a long time to finagle all the little connections, and there's like special tools you have to order. And um, yeah, when I got that installed, then the transmission all of a sudden worked great again. I haven't had a problem with it. Well, if it's really cold out, it'll run. It's the computer makes the transmission run rough and shift hard at first when it's cold out, and the reason it does that is to heat up the transmission, which is kind of weird. Um, but otherwise, it runs. I haven't had any problems. running good, and, let's see, so that's a huge repair because I did get a new cross member, for the transmission, and the guy who put in the remanufactured transmission is like, "Yeah," he's like, "I've never had to replace the cross member because it was rusted out," you know? And I drove all the way to this salvage yard, like, I don't know, an hour drive away to get the find a cross member, and like, saw it on, the photo of it. It was still, it was in good shape, so I was happy. It was worth the drive, and that's just part of the frame underneath, connects these square the box frame, and let's see, so they put that all in, they put in some the guy who did that work, he was real nice about it. I he when he they had a seal that there was a seal that was leaking, and I can't remember if they put it in backwards or something. I caught it, I brought it right back, and he was, clearly he was upset, but obviously they had to fix it, and then he took me out for a test drive with it, and then I'm like, I keep getting this creaking noise, and it's really annoying, and he's like, "Well, that's your sway bar links." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I already had 'em replaced except that one sway bar link in the front right." And sure enough, like, he must have replaced it because the creak it went away, like, he's like, I'm pretty sure he replaced that for me, because it hasn't been a problem ever since. So I was happy. I didn't write him a review or anything. I should have written him a review, but, um, anyway, yeah, so that was a really expensive job, but the whole point is like, well, the Vortex 400 engine, it's a really good engine, and you can get 500,000 miles out of the engine if you take care of it. So then what I did was I found this German engineer who uses nano uh it's like graphene, but it's actually it's some type of boron, and it's exactly just like graphene where you have this quantum non-local um like electron as a for a superconductive not zero resistance as a lubricant. Actually, what it does is it fills in the little holes in your cylinder walls for the pistons that they wear down the cylinder walls, and so that keeps the engine in good shape. That's the idea of it. And so there's a bunch of videos in German. It's a German engineer guy, and where they tested it, and there's only one dealer that sells it in the US, and he works with a German inventor. Um, and their selling point is that they use really small size particles, so it's really nano sized. Um, and so I started using that in the engine as a first I tried to use some of the other stuff like the what do you call it, magic Marvel mystery magic whatever Marvel's magic oil or whatever it is. That stuff's kind of cool. I mean, it's mainly just mineral oil and solvents. What do you call it? Um, oh, I can't remember the turpentine. It's basically turpentine. And I mean, it's good to like clean out your valves. So that'll clean out gunk in your valves if you use that MMO Marvel Mystery Oil in the fuel. You're supposed to use it like right before you do an oil change. So that's the other thing is I started doing my own oil changes just so I basically, keep an eye on the oil. So then I decided to do an engine flush because um one of the repair guys for this car, he says, "Well, there's no PC valve. Technically, this engine has no PC valve, which is what does that mean? It's like I don't know, I think it's called like a pressure control valve or something, but basically it's what it does is it reburns the exhaust in the engine that's like unburnt gas and oil or whatever. And, um, so normally it would cause pollution, but it's like when you reburn it into the cylinders, um, yeah, you get a cleaner burn, but you also get like better fuel efficiency, I think. Anyway, there so engines are required to have some kind of system that redirects the exhaust back into the engine for a second run, essentially. And there is a hose that does that in this engine. And he's like, the problem is it gets clogged, and so he's like, there's this trick you can do to clean it out. And it's hard to get at it. It's really hard. Like you have to get special tools again and you use to clean it out, he used acetone. And acetone, they sell acetone as Berryman's. They call it the product brand was Berryman's. But yeah, so I they now like Berryman's doesn't sell acetone in the US because it's like it's way too powerful. It'll just like destroy your engine if you use it wrong. So I was a bit nervous about that. And so I did an engine flush with the acetone, and I did it through the PCV hose into the cylinders directly. And you're supposed to, you don't run it very long, and then you empty out the engine oil. Um, so then I started to do a engine flush. I was spraying acetone right into the oil pan to try to flush, and then I used oil to flush that out. Um, and that seemed to work pretty well to get like the gunk out. But then I accidentally the spray straw it got sucked into the engine because I didn't realize there's a negative pressure in the engine and like pulled off the spray. I don't know quite how it happened, but all of a sudden it's like swoop, it's like sucked it in and it was gone. And I told this one mechanic about it. He's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. That's not going to be the problem if that's in your oil, your oil whatever tank or whatever it is, the oil pan." So let's see what else. Yeah, I got a lot of gunk out from doing that. But then it's like, okay, I put so much acetone in the engine that I think I destroyed the catalytic converter because I got freaked out because I'm running it. I had a lot of like smoke coming out of the exhaust, like blue smoke, because I'm just cleaning out the engine. And so then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna replace the catalytic converter because I probably I don't want to risk having that damaged. And so the guy who replaced it, he's like really like low price. I didn't realize, well, yeah, he probably, he can get money for that catalytic converter. So, but he's like, "Are you just gonna destroy this one again?" Like, he was giving me hassling me about it. Um, but the new catalytic converter I got, it sounds really cool. It's got like this low rumble sound to it, which makes it sound like a muscle car or something. Um, and so then at what happened is that the reason I was experimenting with, some other kinda oil, engine lubricants or cleaners or whatever, some magical elixir fluids, and I put too much in and the oil level was too high, and then I started to get, spark plug the spark plug was, like, not working, one of the spark plugs, and so then, um, when I tried to fix it, it was the one that was close to the firewall. The 6, cylinder spark plug is, like, under the firewall. It's really hard to get to, and I've never done I've never this is all and everything I'm doing, I've never done before, so it's all new to me. So it turns out when I put in the 6, spark plug, I accidentally cracked it when I installed it, and I didn't realize that, and so I kept getting a misfire, and, I had a really cheap, code reader, and after a while, I'm like, I don't know, like, I couldn't figure out what caused it, and it took me a long time to figure out that I'd cracked the, spark plug, and I ended up replacing all the I put in all new spark plugs, then I put in all new, coils, the ignition coils, I replaced those. So it's like, okay, well, that's actually it had enough mileage on it where it was good to do that anyway, so at this point, I'm like, "Okay, well," and then I'm like, "Alright," the when my dad had the car, he had left the tow hitch into the tow hitch, whatever you call it, the insert, whatever it is. It got rusted in there, and I couldn't figure it out because 'cause I'm like, "What is wrong with the tow hitch? Like, I can't use it." And I finally realized that they took a blowtorch and they cut off the the tow hitch, and it was rusted in there. And I'm like, I wanna use the tow hitch again so I can actually use it to pull a trailer or whatever. So then I got a big chisel and a sledgehammer, and I just went to town on the tow hitch, and I made a video about it. I just kept pounding it, and eventually I got out whatever, the previous tow hitch that it had been cut off, and it was rusted in there. I got it, it was so I got it out. It took me a long time, and then I had to chisel out the rust. It had rust welded in there, and so then I had to clean it all out, with phosphoric acid and then, treat it, and then, I could get the trailer hitch going, and then at this point, the actual, latch, the tailgate latch stopped working, and so I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna replace that." I did that on my own. I took out the actuator in the back, took it off and replaced the actuator for the trail, latch, and that was, like, really finicky. There's a I've never worked with electrical stuff before, but, there's, like, a solenoid or whatever in there, and so then, um, I think I think I had to do that twice maybe? I think I just did it once, but then another time, front door, the driver's door lock, started to, you know, act it was not working anymore, and so I took that apart and I replaced the actuator for the front door, lock, and I don't know I don't know why I did that on my own, 'cause, like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I just started fixing the car myself. I don't know why, but, sometimes the front door lock, like, a couple times it has not worked, like, a few weeks ago, I could not unlock the door, um, and I started to freak out. I'm like, "Oh, great," 'cause I had parked in the road, like a public, um, road, and I was like, "Okay, I thought I fixed this. It's been working," um, but all of a sudden, it's not working. Like I can't remember what I did because I think I used JB Weld. I actually, like, used JB Weld to, like, make the repair work. So if my front door lock just suddenly stops working, like, I wouldn't be surprised, and I'd have to, like, probably bring it to a shop to have it worked on, but I think I was, like, at this point, I mean, like I said, the local mechanics said they weren't gonna work on the car anymore, but then what happened is that after I found this repair kit and this engineer in Iowa, and he custom designs, repair kits for, the bodies of trucks and stuff, and he had a repair kit for a Colorado, truck, but I looked it up and it turns out the Colorado truck frame is the exact same frame as you know, my dad's, SUV, which is this um, box frame, and so I contacted the guy. I'm like, "Well, can you send me that Colorado repair kit?" so I can use it on this car." And he's like, "Yeah." He says, "I think that should work." And, so he sent the repair kit, and so, like I said, I found this, mechanic out of town. I found this guy, on the internet, on YouTube. He was doing a rust repair on his, wife's truck. He, welded he was welding onto the his wife's truck, so I contacted him on his live stream in his YouTube chat, and, sure enough, he when he, did the weld repair, he goes, "Your, your rear control arm brackets are all rusted out. They need to be replaced." And the funny thing was is I'd forgotten about that, but another mechanic had already told me that. He's like, I had when I first got told that, I researched it, and I found a repair kit for the to replace the rear control arm brackets. Basically, you just have to weld them in or find somebody to weld them in. So I told him that. I'm like, "Yeah, they actually make a repair kit for those, rear control arms." And he was really surprised. He was impressed that I knew that, and I'm like, "Would you weld them in if I bring you the repair kit?" He's like, "Yeah, I definitely would do it." And so I got that fixed, and that was I actually um I put in the control arms myself also, the rear control arms, and that was a bit of a wrench job, wrenching, 'cause they were like I think they were like 21 millimeter, pretty big, bolts. And okay, so what else? Oh, and I also replaced the rear differential cover, with a aluminum one, because like, it was all rusted out, and, um, it didn't quite fit. I had to, like I can't remember what I had to do, but, there was this there was these valves leaking really bad, and it took them a while to, find out which, seals were leaking. So you had the pinion seal in the rear, and they would replace the seals, and, they finally they figured out they thought it was the rear differential cover, that was leaking, but it turned out, it was the pinion seal, and they replaced a couple other seals, and then I had the inner differential seal was leaking, and it turns out the way that they designed this engine, it's only a $30 part, and I actually have that part in my drawer. I kept the part because I'm like, "Am I gonna have to get this, seal?" I have to get it replaced because it's leaking, and it could get worse. And there's some mechanic on YouTube where he figured out a secret to replace this seal, because the way they have the engine designed, they have the front drivetrain goes through the oil pan, so the front differential is actually, like, bolted into the oil pan, and then the front axle goes through the actual oil pan, and so nobody there's no mechanic that wants to do this repair job, because it's like you have to take the whole, drivetrain apart, and everybody says it's completely insane. And so there's no way I'm gonna ask a mechanic to do this repair job because there's too many miles on the car. So I'm like, "Well, how am I gonna keep the vehicle running?" So then I kept researching, and I found this product called, Titan Seal, um, Titan, Stop Leak Seal or whatever, and they have a patented proprietary, silicone that they say will rebuild the seal internally. If you have any kinda silicone, seal damage, it will rebuild the seal. So I thought, "Well, what have I got to lose?" It's expensive. It's like real expensive magical elixir. I think it's like $50 for a little bottle, like 8 ounces or something. but sure enough, it worked. So it would have been like a $3,000 repair to get at this $30 seal. So then, I don't know about maybe like 3 or 4 months ago, I was at a birthday party of a friend of my relative of mine at the local church, and I'm sitting there, and sure enough, the local mechanic sits down because he's everybody knows each other in the little town, and sure enough, he tells me that he bought like 3 special tools just to do that repair job for my kind of engine or my kind of drivetrain or whatever, and he's like, if you ever need to do that repair job, just let me know and I'll give you those 3 special tools to get it done. It was just really weird because I'm like, yeah, I told him, what I did to get that repair done. Um, and he thought it was pretty funny. It's like, because we both bonded over the fact that nobody wants to do that repair. Um, and the irony is that his car was being repaired and they couldn't fix it. And the fact that he's a mechanic and he's like, you're not supposed to tell the mechanic what to do, so he didn't want to, he ended up having to tell them what he thought, how to fix it. But anyway, so obviously cars are just a huge pain to keep going, but that's our culture, the oil vehicle culture. What else? Yeah, I had the windshield replaced because I had this rock hit the windshield like from a truck, semi truck kicked up some gravel rock and it cracked the windshield. And when they replaced the windshield, it wasn't like completely tightly sealed, and so I kept getting this whistling noise. At first, I didn't know what it was, and I'm like, "What could be causing this?" And the mechanic, when I asked one mechanic about it, he didn't know. Like I told him the noise was, and he didn't know. You know, I figured it out on my own. I'm like, okay, like I would put my hand up to the windshield, and I figured it out finally that the whistling was from the windshield, and then so then I finally just put some tape on the windshield and it stopped the whistling noise, because it's like, I don't know what else to do. I just got some like black tape that fit the like molding along the windshield. And then another time I accidentally hit a deer and the deer ran off. And I don't know, I think the deer survived because I wasn't going that fast when I saw the deer, but it damaged the front grill. And so I had to like replace the some front grill part. I can't remember what it was. And and the logo of the model of the car, I think it's the Chevy logo. I had to order a new logo to replace it, and when I when I put it in, it was slightly bent. It wasn't like um totally even. The logo's like crooked, and it's for some reason it sticks out a little bit. I don't know why. Like I can't remember what I did, but it's just pretty hilarious because it's like, yeah, it's got the Chevy logo, but it's definitely janky, like it's wonky. um, and but the one mechanic who did the welding is like, yeah, it's a real smooth ride, because I had the new suspension put in, and he was impressed. He's like, how many miles are on the vehicle, and this and the new shocks and struts, and I even got new coil springs put in installed, so it feels really nice. And so the air conditioner does actually work sometimes. I don't know, but sometimes most of the time it doesn't work. So it's kind of like I after researching it, I discovered that the dealer is supposed to do a factory computer like a new computer program. They have to install a new air conditioning program to update it or something. And most of the mechanics they don't know that, at the dealer. And so they'll replace the parts, but they'll throw parts at it, and charge you a lot of money, but then they don't do the computer part, the computer update or whatever it is. And I didn't wanna, like I didn't wanna go to the dealer and try to educate them about that because at that point, they were sick of me bringing in this car that looks like it's barely working. But like I said, the Vortex 4200 engine sounds great. It's still working well. The engine works good. So, um, in fact, the engine is even smoother than it's ever been because all the boron, all the after I did that engine, the deep engine cleaning, the yeah, that boron stuff, I've been using it. I think it's and I only use 100% full synthetic oil now. And um, let's see what else. Yeah, I was driving up north and the serpentine belt just broke, and I didn't know like what had happened. I pulled over, I called a tow truck, and the guy was super nice. He's like, "Well, I can take you to the auto parts store and get you the parts to replace this." He's like, "Let me look at it." It's like, "Yeah, you need the um tension pulley replaced." And so he's like, "Yeah, let me drive you to the auto parts store." So he buys me the parts. I'm like, "Well, can you do the repair for me?" Because I don't know how to do it. And he's like, "I cannot do it, but I can call my buddy and you can pay him." And you know, they got the job done. So they really saved me. It was super nice. So another time, I didn't know how to put the car into four-wheel drive properly because the Trailblazer, or yeah, this model, it has a this make or model or whatever, it has a um four-wheel drive low, which has the most power. Then you also have like four-wheel drive high, and then you have automatic four-wheel drive. And so luckily you do not want to keep it in automatic four-wheel drive because the it turns out the four-wheel drive doesn't have any kind of real way to change the oil for the system, so the lubrication where it wears out and just burns out. So you really don't want to use a four-wheel drive very often. Um, but you do want to use it like once a month just to keep it working. Um, so since I didn't know how to use four-wheel drive low, I ended up getting stuck on my land up north, and it just kept getting worse and worse when I tried to fix it, and I ended up like puncturing the gas tank and breaking the steering cable. And so they towed it to the local repair shop, and I stayed overnight in the motel, which was really expensive. It was like $200 for this small town motel night, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Um, and they did all the repair work for me. They didn't complain about how what an idiot I am to get it all that damage. They replaced the fuel tank and steering cable and co- some other stuff. I don't know, but yeah. So I've had the water pump replaced. I do not think the power steering pump has been replaced, but the power steering hoses have been replaced. And now I just had the rack and pinion replaced, and the power steering cooler was replaced. Because I had this big chunk of ice hit my car from a truck on the road, like some kind of delivery truck. It got lodged. It damaged the power steering cooler. Let's see. Another time, like my wheel just flew off the car when I was driving, and I had just had the car worked on, so I realized they didn't. I don't know if they didn't torque all the bolts or they didn't torque it up to spec. I don't know what happened, but the the car that my wheel hit, the guy was so nice that he literally helped me finish my fruit deliveries because I'm like, yeah, I'm supposed to be delivering fruit. He's like, all right, come on it, like load up your fruit. He thought I don't know if he just felt so sorry for me that he literally drove me to the and it was I mean, you gotta like what a nice thing to do, you know. And he worked for some military weapons engineer. He was like some kind of military weapons engineer guy. He was younger than me. Um, so it was pretty funny because I'm sure he did not realize, that I'm like a anti-war activist or whatever. So yeah, that's pretty much. I'm trying to think of the all the other repairs. The I've been using the lanolin wool, the fluid film wool spray. I use black. I really like black instead of. I mean, I was using phosphoric acid. I'll probably still use some phosphoric acid. Oh yeah, the welder guy. He told me, oh, you should just get a new tailgate, a whole new tailgate, because I wanted him to like weld on some, some metal to replace the rust. And he's like, no. And so I did it myself, and I got a pop rivet gun to rivet on sheet metal on the tailgate, and then I used polyethylene spray or whatever it is, polyurethane spray, the foam, the what do they call that stuff? Um filler, I don't know, spray filler, gap gap filler spray or whatever. Um I put that stuff over the it looks like stucco, but it totally stops any rust on the tailgate. It's like I'm so happy with the tailgate now because it's like it gave enough strength to the sheet metal. It's heavy, and so then my the hydraulic um struts wore out on the tailgate, so I had to replace those. But that wasn't, because the tailgate is extra heavy now. But it's like people look at it like, "What's going on?" But it looks really messed up. It's a lot easier than replacing the whole tailgate. And I did that on the doors too. I used a pop rivet and I just put sheet metal on the bottoms of the doors to replace the doors. And then I used like lots of just like heavy paint, and I found some kind of like spray rubber in a can that you could spray, and I cannot find that again. I love that stuff because I sprayed it over the sheet metal, and it's really like protected the metal, but also like it's protected the sharp edges of the sheet metal. And let's see, I think that stuff was made by Permatex, but I can't. I tried to find it again to try to fix this power steering leak. I had a branch basically get stuck in the rack and pinion, and that's what caused the leak. And so then I tried to fix that, and I literally got a hose, like transmission fluid hose, around the power steering rack. They call it like the transfer line, and it's inside one of the cross members of the frames. And I was able to get my fingers around it and like get some tools in there. It was super super hard to um, reach that spot under the under the vehicle, and I finally maneuvered some clamps around this hose. I tightened the clamps, and the leak stopped. I was able to fill it, and it held for like 2 months. But then I was turning hard, like I've been working locally on doing some road work, and I was turning, making hard turns, and so then it must have built up the pressure too much in the power steering, and then it burst. Like, I lost all the fluid overnight, and my um, overfill reservoir was empty. So that's why I was like, okay, I got to replace the rack and pinion, and that's what they did. I found it, like I said, I found a good part. It was the company's AAE. Oh, something just fell in my closet. Okay, it's been an hour, so I think that kind of tells you it's been constant repairs on the vehicle, and but the engine is still running good. It sounds great. I love the engine, so keep that Vortex 4200 going. And I tallied up all the costs I spent on repairs and gasoline and all that. It's not that bad considering the car's like 23 years old now, or 22 years old. So it's kind of like paid for itself in its longevity because it's a good engine.